You know, when you go on vacation, especially to a new country or any place that you've never been to before, and suddenly you get lost. What do? Nowadays, you pull out the trusty Google or Apple Maps and you just follow a little arrow and it tells you exactly. Google Maps sucks balls. I'll say it again. Google Maps sucks balls. Why? Because Google Maps has taken away our spatial ability. Research is out now and showing that these kind of devices and technology in particular has taken away our ability that has been developed over millions of years using the sun, the moon, the stars, compasses, physical maps to guide us. We're losing touch with the external environment and our physical body, the internal world as well. So we need maps. We need physical, active maps to help guide us, in particular, to find the sources of our pain. Today, I'm going to show you one of the reasons behind wrist pain. And how we find the causes of that is through guideposts, such as Thomas Myers Anatomy Trains myofascial maps. Stick around. We're going to go through these maps. I'm going to guide you and show you one of the reasons, of the multitude of reasons behind wrist pain. So let's take a look at Tom's arm map again. We've got the superficial front arm line and the deep front arm line. If you'll notice, it starts at the sternum, goes to the pec, pec major, pec minor, all that fascia underneath, which is called the clavopectoral fascia. Fancy word for clavicle and pectoral area fascia. Then it goes up to the shoulder, upper arm, forearm, and then hand. This is the route that we want to journey on for the final destination, which is freedom of the wrist. And on that route, we may encounter some blockages. For example, maybe we hit a deer, and that deer could represent when you were 10, you were climbing on a fence and you tore open your bicep and you had to get 15 stitches, and there's still that nasty scar that you see on your forearm. It could also be a pothole. Maybe in your 20s, you're really into boxing and you tore your bicep tendon. And again, scar tissue or literally a hole within that gap from the torn tendon. It could be a roadblock. Scar tissue from up above, maybe the coracobrachialis or the short head of the biceps, or maybe in your deltoid, there's scar tissue in there, or the septums of the fascial bags that surround each muscle of the deltoid, the three muscles, get stuck and there's no glide. It could be a traffic jam. Traffic jam representing compression in your pecs because you've been lifting a lot of weights and your pecs are becoming huge, yo. And it brings your arms into internal rotation, which also pulls on the wrist. It could also be that you're an office worker and you spend a great deal of time in front of a computer, or you spend a lot of time in the car and again, you come into flexion. I haven't even touched into the emotional reason behind the pull. When I was a kid, I used to feel really sorry for myself and I would slouch to protect my heart. These are all the blockages and reasons behind the wrist not achieving its proper range of motion. Kind of like when you were a kid and someone would pull your shirt and then you try to reach and then, and then maybe you think, I can't, my wrist, my arm can't attain its proper biomechanical function. Yeah, I'm sure you thought that, right? So let's start with one of the reasons behind the pullage. Compression in the pec major and all this associated fascia. Let's do a stretch to release that. So we're starting with a side view so you can see the position of my feet and how my toes are curled under. If this is too painful for you, for your feet and your toes in general, you can flatten the feet if you'd like. I prefer curling the toes under because I have a little bit more mobility with it. I'm going to show you here this view. And my hands are wider than my shoulders, but you can experiment with different hand positions. You can go wider or narrower, mainly because the pecs have three different fiber directions, lower, middle, and upper. And so with different hand positions, it affects different fibers and can release all those different fibers. I'm going to try to bring, ideally, my chin down, but maybe this is where you're at right here, and you're not able to come down further. That's your range of motion. Just stay within that. It's not about trying to force past your safe range of motion. I'm going to try to keep my arms straight. That way the leverage is longer and it puts more mechanical force upon my pecs. My fingertips are separated as much as I can. I'm going to exert pressure with my palms downward. Now, let me show you this side view so you can see the position. I'm going to come a little bit closer to the camera so you can see. When I inhale, my rib cage comes up a little bit, and then when I exhale, I'm exerting pressure downward with my armpits and my pecs. So can you see this motion? Kind of like a wave. Now, as I exert pressure downward on that exhale, I'm also relaxing into it, because the more I relax, the more the nervous system knows it's safe to open up. And you create space by relaxing into the position. Wu Wei in Chinese, effort without effort. Now, when I come down like that, I'm noticing that my left side is holding and more compressed than my right. And so I'm going to lean into my left a little bit more. And then I'm concentrating on the back of my rib cage. I'm closing my eyes to feel the back of my rib cage. And so not only are we taking away pressure from the wrist, but we're also bringing mobility into the rib cage, especially for people out there like me who had a rounded rib cage because childhood, emotional reasons for protecting our heart, we slouched. We came into that dorsal vagus tone or the freeze paralysis tone and stayed in it. And so can we bring that mobility back into the rib cage? So not only are we freeing up the wrist, like I said, but we're also freeing up posterior neck pain. So yeah, folks, we got a twofer there. And then when I push into that left side, I can rotate my rib cage a little bit to the right. I can rotate my head if I want, just to floss the neck and the scalenes there. And then oscillate to the other side, the right. Now there is some tightness there, but nothing compared to my left. So I'm going to go back to that left and I'm going to stay there for maybe about a minute or 2 minutes and breathe into it and expand it and visualize space there, freeing up that compression, that traffic jam, as I was talking about before. Okay? And this is not just I did it once and look, it freed it up, folks. Just a myofascial fact here, to create new myofascial patterns, it takes at least 3 to 6 months to regenerate that connective tissue. And stay tuned into my channel, because in the future I'm going to make subsequent videos about the other blockages up the kinetic chain that cause that wrist pain. Arigatou gozaimasu.